Time to do business again. Welcome to Business Incorporated, and here's what we have prepared for you. Egypt has inaugurated its first phase of 1 gigawatt of solar battery project. And in Kenya, the government hails sugar sector revival. Uganda's gold export hits record high, 21.1 trillion shillings. Welcome to the program. I'm Ini John Mekwa, and let's do business, starting from what's happening in the global oil space. Prices extended gains as heightened concerns surrounding major producer Iran and potential supply disruption overshadows the prospect of increased crude supply from Venezuela. Iran is one of the top producers of the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and is facing its biggest anti-government demonstrations in years. A government crackdown against protesters that the rights group says has killed hundreds and led to the arrest of thousands. It has drawn warning from the United States President Donald Trump of possible military action. President Trump says that any country that does business with Iran will be subjected to a tariff rate of 25% on any business conducted with the U.S. Iran exports much of its oil to China. So Brent crude oil's premium to Middle East benchmark Dubai rose on Tuesday to its highest since July. And there you have it. Brent now is at $64.65 a barrel after it went up 1.21%, while WTI is at $60, which is a rare level for WTI, $60.28 a barrel. It went up 1.29%. Over to metals now. Gold prices were largely steady near its all-time peak on Tuesday, supported by that ongoing geopolitical tensions, while investor caution ahead of key inflation data limited upside momentum. So Federal Reserve Bank of New York President John Williams has said that the central bank does not face any near-term pressure to change the stance of military policy. Investors are currently anticipating 2 interest rate cuts this year, 2026, with today's consumer price index data expected to provide further clues. So we see the numbers at this time. We see that for spot gold, it's down 0.43%, while for U.S. gold, it's down also 0.10%, and that's about $4,600. And then for spot silver, it's the only green that we have among the golds, among the metals, more than 0.5% up at $85, about that. And platinum is down more than 1%, 1.19%. Our palladium is the biggest drop that we have at this time, almost 3%, 2.83%, and the price there at $1,884.60. Obviously driven by those geopolitical activities around metals and around the world, led by the United States and Iran. And talking about metals, Uganda has emerged as one of Africa's fastest rising gold exporters, with export earnings from the precious metal reaching a record $5.8 billion in the year ending November 2025. The surge has firmly placed gold at the center of Uganda's mineral economy and reflects a growing shift away from raw material mineral exports towards value addition, refining, and deeper integration into global bullion markets. Beyond gold, Uganda is endowed with a wide range of strategic minerals, including coltan, tantalite, copper, diamond, silver, limestone, uranium, and marble. Major mineral belts span between Busia, Kassanda, Karamoja, and West Nile, underpinning the country's growing profile as a regional mining hub. And Zimbabwe has formally reaffirmed its commitment to achieve a major clean energy transition by 2030, positioning renewable power at the heart of its climate action and economic development strategy. Deputy Minister of Energy and Power Development said that the government is targeting universal access to clean, reliable and affordable energy nationwide by 2030, while cutting greenhouse emissions by 40% below business as usual levels. And in Kenya, the government has held a major revival of Kenya's sugar sector following the resumption of operations at 4 key sugar mills, a move that is expected to boost production, protect farmers' income, and strengthen the industry's contribution to the economy. Agriculture Principal Secretary describes the opening of those 4 mills as a significant milestone in the government's ongoing effort to restore productivity and stabilize the sector. Egypt and Syria partnering, it's a partnership that is to deepen economic cooperation with a new partnership aimed at restarting stalled factories and accelerating industrial recovery in war-affected areas of Syria. The announcement came during a high-level meeting between a delegation from the Federation of Egyptian Chambers of Commerce and the Syrian President Ahmed al-Sahara in Damascus, where both sides discussed practical steps to revive economic activity and rebuild infrastructure. Still on Egypt now, the Prime Minister has inaugurated the first phase of the Obelisk Solar Project in Naga Hamadi, delivering 500 megawatts of solar capacity alongside 20 megawatts of battery energy storage. The hybrid project is owned and developed by Norwegian renewable energy company Scatec ASA and will ultimately comprise 1 gigawatt of solar capacity and 100 megawatts or to about 200 megawatts of energy storage once the second phase is completed. Let's discuss AI now and talking about products design and what that has to do with driving businesses an age of AI. We have Jacinta Fabi, a global digital technology leader, joining us for this. Jacinta, welcome to the program. And we know everybody is talking about AI now, the future is AI and all of that. When it comes to products designing, how many, well, obviously a lot of things that AI has to do, but how do we make that practical enough to drive business growth?
Thank you very much for having me here. Good afternoon. So to answer your question, AI, product design, and how they impact business growth, right? So there are some AI technologies that are already influencing how we designers design digital products, right? By removing repetitive tasks or time-consuming tasks from our workflows. So like generating early concepts or analyzing user data or summarizing user insights that we get from research. And this allows us as product designers to ship product faster and also iterate more effectively. But what's important is that AI is speeding this process, but it's necessarily not replacing the design thinking behind the workflow, right? So the empathetic human side of the design, understanding the emotions, the context, the culture, and even the unspoken needs of the users is still human. It still lies with us as the product designers, right? So AI can basically help us speed the process of coming up with that design of the product. It can surface patterns, but to feel frustrations, anxiety that users do, it definitely cannot do that. So we as designers work with AI to ensure that we deliver products to the optimal best for users. Yeah.
So, and I'm glad you brought the issue of, emotions, culture, and all of that, because I think that kind of lays to rest the argument of AI taking people's job, because AI can only work with the contents that you give it,
Yeah.
whatever you input, that's what the AI will use to give you an output, so a human being still has to do that. But let's talk about how we can use this to drive business growth, especially in a country like Nigeria. Is it making the product look more attractive, or, in what way does it reduce overhead costs? At the end of the day, we need to drive business growth. How does AI help in this area?
Okay, so it can help in various ways. I already mentioned one in one aspect of we as designers. That's one context, how we can leverage the tool to design faster and ship products faster, but at the same time still retaining the human factor. Also, we can also leverage that in terms of, so there are also like a lot of Nigerian companies, sectors in Nigeria that are also leveraging AI to improve efficiency and impact among these multiple sectors. So there are fintech apps, for example, that can use AI to detect, fraud, using AI to flag suspicious transactions like in real time. So that can definitely, help or boost the growth of that business, because people would want to leverage that kind of tool that can help them, detect fraud early enough in time. We also have like healthcare. In healthcare as well, it can also help with diagnosis and help analyze medical images or patients' data, right? And this doesn't necessarily replace doctors. It basically allows them to focus on the most critical cases and, reach more patients more effectively. So because AI is speeding up these processes, it enables the businesses to scale and grow in different ways. Yeah.
So I know that, I mean, when you go on social media, you see a lot of advertorials on how you can gain AI knowledge, be an AI professionals and things like that. Are this opportunities to get this knowledge of being an expert in AI, is it readily available and affordable in Nigeria?
So in Nigeria today, looking in, so I would say so we're getting there. And that's why also having this kind of conversations matters, because the first step is, awareness, and we're creating awareness for people to know that we're in the world of AI and how everyone should adopt it and, evolve fast. So that's like one of the ways to sort of like get that awareness. In terms of like having this resources available for people to learn AI. So I think there are like a couple. There are a couple online on YouTube, not necessarily paid for, but there are online resources where people can, go to leverage that. There are also people that have, taken out their time to learn more about this, taking out time to learn more about AI, and they're willing to share this knowledge in terms of content creation, online. And these days, I'm also beginning to see some applications that can aid micro learning, where you can learn AI tools, say 15 minutes in a day. You can devote 15 minutes of your time in a day to
All
learn
right.
it, if in case they feel it's overwhelming. Yeah.
Okay, all right, Jacinta, thank you so much. I mean,
Yeah.
especially when you talk about the freebies, everybody wants to hear about the freebies, the free
Yeah.
opportunity to become AI Pro, at least to a certain level. Thank you so much, Jacinta Fabi, a global digital technology leader.
Thank you so much.
All right, now let's switch a bit from, some of those very techy things and talk about the one that we need every day, pepper. We're talking about pepper this afternoon. And the good news is, compared to about this time last year, there's a 50% drop in the price of pepper. While it used to be about 90,000 this time last year, we have it about 45,000. That's the good news that Rosemary Ahira has brought to us from Financial Derivatives Company this afternoon. Hi, Rosemary. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program. Thank you for this good news. We hope that this drop in the price will be sustained.
Good afternoon, Ini. Thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah, so what's the trend that we can expect this year? Do we see a sustained decrease in the price of pepper?
After a couple of months, we've seen that the 2024 to 2025 harvest season have really brought in a lot of staples into the market, things like rice, maize, guinea corn, and the likes. And pepper is actually one of it. So the wet season really contributed to bountiful harvest during the last harvest period. And we are seeing the same signs going into this year in terms of weather conditions, in terms of access to finance, in terms of improved seedlings and research as well. And this is really going to help to improve yields this year. And we're hoping that the sustained price is going to persist. The reason why the drop is so drastic, about 50%, is because demand is typically low during this time. Because we're just wrapped up the festive period where demand is typically high. So there's a lot of consumer resistance. So people are not buying as much pepper. So you're going to see those pepper being moved to going to be processed to dry pepper so they can be stored for longer. And it's more inflow are going to come into the market, basically, both from December and going forward with the stockpiles that they have. So we should see a sustained decrease in the price of pepper in the months following. And harvest period is typically between May and July, and planting season is December. So we have peppers planted already that are going to come into the market between May and April and July.
Exporting this pepper, especially when it's at the height of its season.
Please come again.
Exporting. Do we hear talks about exporting the pepper in whatever form?
Well, we do export pepper, but it is mostly it's largely unprocessed. We export them fresh, we export them dry, but the world is gradually moving from largely unprocessed or raw inputs to more value-added products. And this is what we should be looking at as a country, because Nigeria will only consume about 65,000 tons of pepper, while we produce over 700,000 tons. So we have a lot for export, So what I will propose is that farmers go through cooperatives where they gather funds together, or they gather initiatives.
Rosemary, I can't hear you. Did you mistakenly hit the mute button? Can you hear me?
No, not at all. I can hear you.
Okay,
can you hear
I lost
me?
you for a bit. I saw your lips moving, but I couldn't hear you. All right, so please do conclude your thoughts.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
All right. So I did say that we do export pepper, and our demand for pepper in Nigeria is way lower than what we produce. We consume about 65,000 tons of pepper, but we produce over 700,000. So that leaves a lot for us to export. And our exports are mostly unprocessed, So what I was suggesting, because investors don't typically invest in agriculture because of the volatility, when it comes to this sector. So they are afraid of the risk because they might largely lose money. So farmers can form cooperatives where they gather funds and resources together and have contracts with exporters who give them the variety they want, the pesticide control protocols to follow, and the likes. Or they can do this thing. It's actually currently happening, but it's largely informal, where people give loans to farmers, and instead of the farmers paying them back with money, they pay them back with goods. If that can be formalized, we should see formalized, especially with exporters, we should see an improvement in our export volumes.
All right, Rosemary, thank you for those suggestions coming from financial derivatives company analyst Rosemary Ahira.
Thank you for having me.
Let's head to the markets now and see what's happening. We start, of course, from Nigeria. The NGX is really, really exciting this intraday. It's up 1.34% at 165,426.70. I believe Lad is going to have a great time giving you the stock market report at the close of trading today. South Africa is, however, on the flip side, 0.17% in the red, 119,948. Egypt, positive, almost like Nigeria, 1.70% positive. Kenya closed yesterday positive, slightly, not so exciting, 0.07%. We move over to the Middle East. In the Middle East, it's all green this afternoon. Dubai is green, 0.76%. Abu Dhabi is green, 0.70%. Saudi Arabia is green, 1.06%. Qatar is also green, 0.60%. In the United States, following yesterday's sentiments and all the issues around Mr. Jerome Powell and President Donald Trump. Stock futures are still down, from Dow Jones to S&P to NASDAQ, all in the red this afternoon. And moving over to Asia now, where markets are closed, we saw also, following what it closed with yesterday, positives, very positive, especially when you look at China's Nikkei, Nikkei 225, they're 3.10%, the Kospi 1.47%, Hang Seng 0.9%. And looking at other parts right there for the Asian market, we see the Shanghai and India also following suit. So it's a green market for Asia. One would have expected that it will follow the trend of what's going on in the United States, but no, that's not it. But let's find out what's going on in the European market with Lars Holter. Hi, Lars, good afternoon. I hope there's a bit more movement by investors today.
Well, Ini, good to be with you today. Hope dies last, but I have to disappoint you with the more movement, which there is absolutely nothing moving in Europe at all. We are seeing all of the European markets in the red, but barely. It is really just fractions. I just saw the DAX down by less than 0.1%, so we can really not say that there's much going on. But it is also not entirely surprising. We talked about it yesterday. The DAX in particularly, Ini, has been going pretty strong, gaining every single day this year, and really not at all reacting to the many crises that we are seeing, whether that's Iran and the higher oil price, or Venezuela, or like you just mentioned again, the US president's attack on the Federal Reserve. There are so many things happening right now that would have to worry investors tremendously. Considering all that, I think the fact that we're seeing markets just slightly down by a fraction is really pretty good.
Yeah, well, while investors are kind of uncertain, it seems that your chancellor is trying to make the most of this time. We hear that there's currently a move going on between India and Germany.
Yes, indeed. They are trying to strengthen trade relations there. And the interesting thing about this trip, mostly from a geopolitical and global trade perspective, is that indeed the German chancellor has made this trip to India his first Asia trip. And usually it's always been China for years, because China, of course, was the dominant partner that Germany, but also the EU, of course, had. And now, as things are changing with trade with China not going too well for Germany and for the EU right now, with competition there rising, everything is shifting a bit, and Germany sees a much brighter future possibly with India, and they are working with that. They have signed some memorandums of understanding in the defense sector, of course, other sectors as well, trying to find job seekers in India that might want to live and work in Germany as well. But most, of course, it's about just getting the trade numbers up.
Yeah, but Lars, do we know what sectors are low-hanging fruit, as we say, in this part of the world? You know, what areas or sectors they are looking out for in this new partnership?
Well, definitely defense would be the main sector they're looking at right now, and for two reasons. Of course, there is that still pretty close relationship that India has to Russia. India is, one should know, the biggest defense importer in the world, and most of their defense products right now is actually coming from Russia. In our geopolitical environment right now, with Russia's ongoing war in Ukraine, the Western world, Germany and the EU, of course, among them, we don't like to see that. So they're trying to shift that a little bit. And with Germany being strong in defense manufacturing itself, they're trying to sell them some of their products. And one project that they actually signed contracts about would be about Germany's ThyssenKrupp Marine Systems in Mumbai. They are building 6 new submarines, a deal valued at 8 billion euros. So that is one step to break up that relationship, ideally, between India and Russia, but also to get trade up between India and Germany.
All right, I will certainly look forward to stronger ties between these two countries to the benefit of the world. Thank you so much, Lars.
Thank you, Ini.
Okay, so let's just head straight to what's going on in the crypto space. And we start from Nigeria. Nigeria has started tracking cryptocurrency transactions and linking them to individuals. And it's all part of the new tax law. Yes, we're back to the tax again, and it's affecting everybody. By introducing this system, the Nigerian government has aligned itself with new Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development Crypto Asset Reporting Framework. So if you're a fan of this segment, you might have to look deeper into that. We know that the new law started January 1, 2026. And then a Senate panel, this in the United States, they've released a bill that would allow limited use of stablecoin rewards, signaling a cautious step towards regulating digital assets. And the legislation aims to provide a legal framework for certain types of stable coins. And then in Russia, not a very good news, a 46-year-old woman in western Russia's city of Kursk has lost 28 million rubles to crypto investment scam. Once again in 2026, the scam is not over, it's still on. Unfortunately, that woman has lost some money. But I know that when it comes to crypto and, you know, there are ways that it could be investigated, and we could maybe, at the end of the day, she would hear some good news. And that's it on the program today. Thank you so much for being a part of Business Incorporated. 25 minutes always so short, right? But we have another opportunity tomorrow. I'm John Mekwa. Bye-bye.